Okay, I want to do a quick video about an upload video that Matt Raw uploaded. And let me see, okay. Yeah, so Raw Matt uploaded a video on dinosaur tracks and animal tracks, and it's really a good video. I suggest that everybody take a look at that if you could, if you have a chance. Let me go ahead and get the web address here, if I can. Put it in the chat here so people can read it. Okay, so you can see it for yourself. I'm not going to show the entire thing. I just want to show a little part of it, because when you're talking about geology, it's actually the result of the global flood. Our geology that we have is a direct result of the global flood, and there is no other possible explanation for that. You have no source for the sediment layers. You have billions of years with no sediment deposition. Then you supposedly have millions of years with sediment deposition without a source for the sediments, which also happen to cover animals. But the problem is that there's tracks, many tracks, before you find the animals, which is what the video talks about. So how can you have, so many examples of all kinds of tracks with no animals in those layers, and the animals are found in subsequent layers above that, which are supposed to take millions of years, which obviously did not take millions of years, because the tracks of the animals that made the tracks, the animals that made the tracks are found in the upper layers, the layers above the tracks. So it's really clear evidence of what we should know already from history. That is evidence of the global flood. You should expect to see things like that, considering the fact that there was a global flood. It's a part of our known history. We came through the global flood. We survived the global flood. We have a Y chromosome of 3 different family trees that prove that 3 sons of Noah survived the global flood, along with 3 other mitochondrial family trees that proved we survived the global flood. That we're only 3 families that survived the global flood. Because, we have a tree, a family tree for each of the families. We have a family tree for the Y chromosome of each of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, or Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So Ham's tree, family tree, Y chromosome tree, is separate from that of the family tree of Shem, which is separate from the family tree of Japheth. The same thing is true with the other one, the mitochondria. Hello, this one guy. Technically, it was a 4-part global flood done in waves. Well, there were kind of like some tsunami events where the water just rose and just kind of like eventually buried everything. Of course, some things survived initially, some things were buried initially, and some things were ultimately everything was buried. But you might be right about that. This one guy, it might have been a 4-part global flood in waves, because what we might not realize is that the Earth is big, and the water level probably was inconsistent. There's probably with the lunar tides and everything, the the water levels were probably did come in waves. We should expect that too, and that's, to me, the evidence is clear of the water coming in waves or tsunami events, large tsunami events, not just like a regular tsunami, but like just the water rising above the land animals and stuff. But anyways, back to the track evidence. It's very interesting. It's so much so I wanted to play a part of it, of the video that talks about what Dr. Kurt Wise found. And to me, this is very, very, very clear evidence of the global flood, which was the flood that we happened to survive less than 5,000 years ago. And of course, the DNA family trees are separate trees. The African family tree is separate from the Semitic family tree, which is separate from the Japhethite family tree. The same thing is true for the mitochondrial family trees. The real problem with the Y chromosome, the African Y chromosome, is that the C and the D Y chromosome aren't represented in Africa. They never appeared in Africa, never went to Africa, and they went the opposite way, as a matter of fact. And they're represented in people all the way to America, the Y chromosome. And of course, the mitochondria family spread out in family trees the same way. There's 3 different family trees, which clearly show that we did not come out of Africa. We didn't come from Africa, because 2 of the sons of Ham, or 1 or 2, didn't even go to Africa. They went the opposite way. They went the other way. And that's a real problem for the out of Africa theory. It's so much a problem, I don't even know why anybody would consider it. But you have the evolutionists, that's their belief. And Richard Dawkins says we evolved from Africans, so people think we evolved from Africans when we have separate family trees for everybody. We have a separate family tree for the Africans, separate family tree for the Semitics. I'm talking about the Y chromosome, and the separate family tree for Japheth. 3 separate Y chromosome family trees. The same thing with the mtDNA too. They each have their own family tree, which is separate from each other. They did not evolve from each other. They are contemporaries of each other. And so much so that this idea that there is an A000 is totally absurd, because he's out on extremities of the tree branches, which nothing evolves from something that is at the end of the tree branch. Because if you want something to evolve from something, it has to be from the root, not from the extremity of the tree branches, which is totally absurd. So nothing evolved from the A00 or A000. Hello, Honesty Angel, how you doing? So I just want to play this one clip, because it shows quite clearly, it's compelling evidence, very compelling evidence of the global flood. Considering that it's not the only example, there are many examples of this sort of thing, and but with the trilobites, it's really very, very clear how the tracks appear first, and then there's trilobites trying to flee the sediments, and then they're eventually buried by the sediments of the global flood, because they're the first things to be buried. Yeah, I'm fine. I just wanted to make a video before I take a nap. Let me go ahead and play this video. If I can figure out where it's at. Guess I'm gonna have to do this here.